Military technology goes through interesting phases of waning and waxing influence over the societies that innovate them. And by this, I mean that the military technology that defines a certain age of civilization, this can have a varying influence over other important factors in that civilization. At its most potent, military technology can, and will, completely dictate the structure of government that a society has. Or, at the opposite end of the scale, it can drastically boost the population's ability to impose its own will to the detriment of a tyrannical government. It would be folly of me to throw this barrage at you without any historical examples. If we look to the dawn of democracy in the city of Athens, we can see an example of the military technology that promoted the equality of people. The classic battle formation for the average citizen of Athens was the hoplite formation. A shape of armoured Athenians that carried long spears was one that could very often be found on a Hellenistic age battlefield. But let's look deeper into the way in which this could impact Athens' wider social operation. The hoplite formation was made up of relatively standardized soldiers, each with some armor and a long spear, as well as any other secondary weapons that may have been carried. On top of this, the soldiers would be fighting shoulder to shoulder with one another, regardless of class, birth, and profession. You might find a baker fighting next to the son of a politician, for example. These factors were bound to inspire a more egalitarian outlook, since everyone there was doing the same task, and so, by extension, should have more equal rights, since they all put their lives on the line for the city in the same way. I just want to throw in there that this was for Athenian citizens. There was a large class of slaves and also non-citizens, such as merchants who lived in their own quarters. But furthermore, there was also no imbalance in the military technology that an upper class Athenian had compared to a lower class Athenian, and so there was no way for the upper classes to artificially maintain their monopoly on power, and that led to a more democratic system. Now then, let's do a similar analysis but on the other end of the scale. The innovation of the chariot in ancient times had a profound effect on the governmental structure of civilizations like Egypt and Assyria, especially in the Bronze Age. Unlike the standardized and egalitarian nature of the hoplite formation, the chariot caused a massive imbalance of power on the battlefield. The chariot was an incredibly expensive piece of military equipment, as it required the materials for the chariot itself to be made, as well as horses to pull it, and two human riders, each with their own armour, as well as a bow for the archer on the chariot. This made it very difficult for anyone but the highest class in Egypt or Assyria to obtain, and such there was inequality in the military technology possessed by the upper and lower classes. I mean, these chariots were so powerful they could basically plough through entire ranks of low-grade infantry soldiers, which made them basically unstoppable if you didn't have chariots to counter it yourself. But yeah, let's have a look at the prominence of the chariot in an ancient Egyptian battle. So this we're going to look at the Battle of Megiddo, fought by the Egyptian pharaoh Thutmose III. And this was a battle fought to suppress a rebellion by Egyptian vassals in Canaan. The Egyptians' superior use of their chariots, especially those led by Thutmose himself in the centre of the battlefield, led to a complete break in the line of the rebels in the centre and the eventual shattering of the rebellious armies. The fact that the centre of the army could be crushed by chariots just shows you how powerful they are. And, as could be expected, this military technology had massive impacts on the societies that actually relied on a corps of chariots as their army. The Egyptian pharaoh was essentially a god king, with none other in the world equivalent to him. The country basically became a theocracy, where the state-sanctioned cult was based around the ruling pharaoh, as well as the other gods in the pantheon. And this was made possible by the monopoly on chariots that the pharaoh and the upper classes had, and it made it very easy for them to enforce their rule over their own populations. Similarly, Assyria had a king that was the main organ of government, and since rebellions could be crushed by chariots very easily, this governmental structure could be maintained. Yeah, and as well as Assyria and Egypt, there are also other Bronze Age kingdoms and empires that relied on chariots, such as the Hittite Empire, the Babylonian Empire. These had similarly autocratic governments due to their superiority in military technology over their general populations. And this can be applied to all manner of historical periods, but these are just a couple of examples in the ways in which military technology can have vastly larger impacts on society than just on the battlefield. But if you guys want it, I would gladly make another video with more examples to show you how this works. But until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you.